isn't about the presidency. We need to win everything. We need to win school boards. We need to win state legislatures. We need to win dog catcher. And we have to hold those who lied to us for the past 5 years accountable for their lies.
That is an outstanding message. I love that Don Jr. is spreading it like wildfire. Joining me now, host of Triggered, Don Jr. himself. Don, I love that. I love that we're getting smarter and better about that, and that someone with your platform is talking about this more. It's fine to have a MAGA hat on. That's great. Good for you. But if you're sitting out all the local elections, then Donald Trump takes the White House. No help, no backup, can't get anything done. Again, I love that we're spreading this message out there.
No, hey, man, if you're me and you go through the stuff that I've gone through, whether it's, me personally during the Russia stuff, where apparently I was guilty of treason, a crime punishable by death, or, a $500 million fine to our company for paying back loans on time with interest. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Or 34, 37, whatever, felony convictions for my father. We're living in kangaroo court times. This is going to be a controversial take. I don't know that I want to win the presidency if you don't have these other things, because I get the pleasure of being probably on the front lines of that nonsense for another 4 years. So we do have to get involved. But the part about accountability is really important, too. You have people in media, in tech, in government on the Democrat side. They lied to us everything. Not even the past 4 or 5 years. Frankly, I got that wrong. It's really the last 8 years. It started off with Russia collusion, because I guess Trump was colluding with Russia because he needed the money. I don't know, but it didn't matter. They ran with this like gospel. There's numerous senators that are up for election. Jon Tester in Montana. You got Sherrod Brown in Ohio running for Senate. They vote with Joe Biden 100% of the time. They're totally complicit in covering up the incompetency there. And they want the American people to reelect them to one of the highest governing legislative boards in the country. Is there ever going to be account? They lied to the American people. They told us he was competent. They told us he was smart. The adults were going to be back in charge. The media, Joe Scarborough gets on TV and he says, this is the finest Joe Biden we've ever seen in like 7,000 years of Joe Biden in government. This is the smartest and finest. I'm like, the guy is a vegetable. You as an upstanding American citizen, Jesse, as a patriot, as a veteran, they don't want to have an AR-15. But they'll give the nuclear football to a vegetable? This is not good messaging. This doesn't make any sense. And again, there has to be a price to be paid for it, or they're going to keep doing it to the American public.
They will. You know what? I don't even know if I should ask this question, because I should know, but I've never been able to figure it out. I grew up in Montana. My folks moved us there when we were 10 years old. That's where I graduated high school. It's where I joined the Marines from. We've had Max Baucus, now Jon Tester, and I realize you have these commie hippie places like Bozeman where I grew up, but Montana is red. Why do these losers like Tester stay in places? We need that Senate seat, Don. We need it. I know we need it. What's with Montana? Explain this to me.
Oh, Montana's interesting. I was actually with a buddy of mine, and the only reason I say this is because he said I could. I said it publicly out there. Josh Smith, he runs Montana Knife Company, great patriot, great American business. And he's like, Jon Tester's like my godfather. I was like, what? I was like, how is that possible? He goes, hey, you know what? And there was a time where Jon Tester was actually like sort of believed some of these things. Sure, he was a libtard and he votes with Biden 100% of the time, but he got to Washington, D.C. He's the #1 recipient of special interest dollars in Washington. So he's sort of like a fake farmer, but he does the farmer thing, ho-hum. He shows up in blaze orange every once in a while, even though many years he's never even held a hunting license. He plays that game like he's one of them. They sell it to him, but then he goes to D.C., and like so many others, Jesse, he gets corrupted by the swamp. So you go from being a guy that, like I said, a good friend of mine, super conservative guy, he's like, hey, man, there was a time that he was like that. Now I want to get my stepfather, whatever it is, godfather, out of office because he became everything he probably despised. He's been in there forever. He's taking all the special interest money. He votes with Joe Biden nearly 100% of the time, but then he'll run ads like, I'm for you, Montana. It's like, well, that's not Montana. You can't be for Montanans and their values and their lifestyle and everything they stand for while simultaneously voting 100% of the time with Joe Biden. That doesn't work.
Don, let's talk about your father's VP pick. I know you've said you don't know who he's picking. That's fine. But one of the things, speaking of draining the swamp, that I don't like is the potential pick of JD Vance, because I love JD Vance. And we have so many losers in the Senate. I would love your dad to have someone like JD Vance at his side, but gosh, we really need some decent senators. We finally have one. I kind of want him to stay there. What say you?
Listen, I wasn't sure where you were going with that one at first, because I'm like, wait a minute, JD's like the perfect guy, but no, he is. Listen, I don't think I've been even remotely silent about it. That's been my number one pick from pretty much day one for the VP slot, because it's not just about the VP slot. You watch JD. JD can go on CNN and smack around the opposition like they're little children, which they are. But most of our guys are incapable of doing that. Well, Mr. Whatever your name is, don't you agree? The insurrection of January, they just accept the narrative and then try to fight from that position of weakness. He's able to articulate that position. If anyone's not seen or read Hillbilly Elegy, that's the guy we started fighting for. That's why my father got into this movement, that forgotten man and woman. He understands that. He gets it. And so, yeah, listen, to me, I'd say he's by far our best senator. So I hate pulling him from that. I think we have a chance of getting someone else good in that position as the junior senator from Ohio, and hopefully we'll replace the senior senator of Ohio, Sherrod Brown, who's a big lib. Again, votes with Joe Biden nearly 100% of the time, and we can get Bernie Moreno in there because we need more of those guys in the Senate. But I also look at a JD Vance as a generational character. He's someone that can take the movement, meaning America First, MAGA, however you want to look at it, breaking away from establishment conservatism, and actually run with that for 8 years after 4 more years of Trump. You look at the other contenders, I like them, I'm friendly with them, I think they're accomplished, I think they're intelligent. I don't know that they have that gravitas or the desire and the will to go against even the establishment swamp from the conservative side for the future. And for me, it's about the future of this movement. This is the new Republican Party, but the swamp doesn't want that to happen. They're going to fight tooth and nail to bring back the old, there's not really a consequence for losing, so we'll maintain some sort of power and we can be a little bit of controlled opposition and we'll make our money and we'll get on boards and we'll put our friends on boards and we'll have power and get invited to the cool person party. We won't do what's right for the American people. We won't fight for real hardworking blue-collar Americans, but we have an easy existence in DC being, a feckless weakling. So, I get it. You're not wrong at all. But, that would be my first, second, and third choice for VP because I want to continue the movement, and that positions him naturally to do so.
Yeah, that's the choice to make, right? Do you take the superstar out of the Senate and put him right next to you where he probably should be? Or gosh, are we starved for anybody with guts like JD has in the Senate? All right, speaking of VP, I know you have to be enjoying the Biden saga ever since he pooped his pants on stage when your dad curb stomped him last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. Dome has been in the news. Vice President Kamala Harris has no personality. She can't talk. She can't think. It's painful watching her try to function publicly, and they might be stuck with her. This is fantastic.
Well, listen, the machinations of sort of campaign fundraising and FEC rules, it's sort of hard. It's hard to sort of skip the other person on the ticket, right? And then you combine that with just, Democrats relying 100% on identity politics. Remember, Kamala Harris had less than 1% of the Democrat vote in the primary in 2020. It wasn't like she was popular and that you're putting in a popular person, but, she was the first African-American woman of what, checkbox. We must put her in there. And then you listen to her speak. And Jesse, I swear, I feel like we have a mole in the Biden-Harris administration, and it happens to be whoever is writing Kamala Harris's speeches. Because I'm like, hey, man, if you put me in there, if I could, morph into, her speechwriter and write a speech, I could not do a better job exuding incompetence, in written form to give to her to speak. Because the word salad it's amazing. Democracy is democracy because of democracy. And without democracy, there would be, Jesse, no democracy. And I'm like, wait a minute. I feel like I'm being punked. And so, it's interesting watching the collapse. I've actually have to applaud my father for his discipline in, just letting it happen. Because, man, I'm sitting there being like, please, like, just can I go attack? Because it's so ridiculous. So we have someone who's either incompetent. I'd have a hard time imagining, I guess probably like any straight white male voting for Kamala Harris. I have a hard time imagining almost any African American man or woman vote. I can't imagine anyone actually voting for it. It's almost impossible, other than those people who are just purely like, I guess, radical leftist identity people, because someone else will be pulling the strings. So it's sort of great to watch. You have a choice between arguably the least likable person in American politics and a vegetable. And it's like, they're not sure. I would probably rather run against her, frankly, but that's just me.
No doubt. Yeah, unless you're Willie Brown, what reason do you have to vote for Kamala? Don, thank you so much, my brother. I'll see you in Milwaukee next week, my man.